Now, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all and also acknowledge and thank you all our sponsors first of all, without whom no event is successful or no event is possible. First of all, we've got Wellington City Council, thank you so much. High Commission of India Wellington, thank you so much. NW Group of Business Wellington, Lion Foundation, we have the Wellington Indian, wider Indian and all communities, and CATS, CATNZ, which is Communities Action Trust NZ, which is an event production and management company running for the last 17 years. So if you have any event that you need to be managed or produced, you can contact CATS, Communities Action Trust NZ.
चंद्रां हिरण्मयें लक्ष्मीं धातवेदो महावः तामावह धातवेदो लक्ष्मीमनवगामिनीं यस्यां हिरण्यं वन्दे यङ्गामस्सम्पुरुषाणहम् अश्वपूर्वान्नदमध्यामस्ति नादप्रबोधिनीं श्रियं देवीमुपह्वये श्रीर्मा देवेत्युहदाम् सोऽस्मितां हिरण्यप्राकारामात्रां जलन्ते तृप्तां तर्पयन्ते पद्मे स्थितां पद्मवर्णां तामिकोपह्वये श्रियं चन्द्रां प्रभासां यशसाज्ज्वलन्तीश्रियं लोके देवजुष्टामुधारां तां पद्मिनीमीं शरणमहं प्रपद्ये लक्ष्मीर्वेणस्य ध्वान्त्वावृणे आदित्यवर्णे तपसो विजातो वनस्पतिस्तव वृक्षोरबिल्वः तस्य फलानि तपसानुगन्धमाजान्तराजाश्यवाह्या अलक्ष्मीः उपैथुमां देवसखकीर्तिश्च मणिना सह प्रादुर्भूतोऽस्मि रासेऽस्मिन् कीर्तिमित्तिं दधातु मे
It is wonderful to be here today with you to celebrate the Diwali festival. Can I acknowledge the Wellington City Council, the High Commission of India and High Commissioner Her Excellency Nita Bhusan. Can I acknowledge the Leader of the Opposition and other distinguished guests and Members of Parliament, the wider Wellington community, Radio Tirana for adding a touch of celebrity, and to everyone who has come here to celebrate today. The Wellington Diwali Festival of Lights is an annual event that our city has been proud to host for 24 years running. And it helps us come together to celebrate the traditions of the Indian and Southeast Asian communities who make up such a vibrant and special part of Wellington's cultural fabric. Of course, Diwali has many meanings and many origin tales. Ultimately, stemming from Lord Rama's return from exile, a time that speaks to the triumph of good against evil and the coming from darkness into light. And I think that that is a beautiful symbol for us to lean into, to talk about spreading joy and harmony.
It is a fantastic celebration for our Indian community here in New Zealand, but also for all New Zealanders. celebrating light over darkness, good over evil, hope over despair, and of course, knowledge over ignorance. With all that's happening around the world, those are values and sentiments that are so important to capture right at the moment. Now, I have a few confessions to make to all of you. A few weeks ago, I attended an Indian community event in Auckland, and there was some dancing involving the Prime Minister and myself. You'll be pleased to know that I attended my first Diwali event for the year yesterday out in the Hutt Valley, and while there was much dancing involved, none of it involved me, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to repeat that feat this afternoon and there'll be no further YouTube moments as a result of my appearance here in Diwali. The other confession that I have to make for you all is that about 2 weeks ago I attended a fundraising dinner for the Tiamanga Hospice here in Wellington, and they had up in their charity auction a cricket bat, and it was a cricket bat signed by every member of the Black Caps team who travelled to India last year for the Test series where New Zealand beat India 3 games in a row. I was quite excited by that, so I bought that cricket bat and it now hangs proudly on my wall. And it's a great example of how we can all come together to celebrate the accomplishments of our respective sporting teams, and I'm sure the Kiwi Indian community were very torn in deciding which of the teams they should be supporting in that Test series. I would boast a little bit more were it not for the fact that India thoroughly beat us earlier in the year this year, and so perhaps settled the score a little bit. But it is fantastic to see our communities coming together in such an incredible competition, 2 very competitive teams, and also a great opportunity for Indian New Zealanders and other New Zealanders to come together and celebrate together. So I wish you all the very best for your Diwali celebrations. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you, to celebrate an event that is important here in New Zealand and around the world, to celebrate the contribution that our Indian community makes to Aotearoa New Zealand. Most recent data that I saw suggested that the Indian business from 2019 suggested that the Indian community here in New Zealand contribute over $10 billion a year to our community through your hard work. But you don't just contribute economically, you also contribute in terms of the rich culture that you bring to New Zealand as well, and that is what we celebrate here today. So have a fantastic afternoon of celebration, and thank you for inviting us all to be part of it. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Thank you, Dr.
Namaste, Wellington. Kia ora. Honourable Minister Nicola Willis, Right Honourable Chris Hipkins, Honourable Members of Parliament, distinguished guests from the Kiwi Indian community, friends from all over the world, wish all of you a very, very happy Diwali. Diwali ki bahut bahut shubhkamnaएं. This is a very special and auspicious occasion for all of us, and I am so happy and proud that we are celebrating it in such a big way here in New Zealand. In the last 24 hours, this is my 3rd Diwali function in the 3rd city. I was in Auckland yesterday in the morning and in Queenstown in the evening, and now I am here with you in Wellington. And it shows how diverse, how New Zealand has embraced the Indian community and the diversity of people from all over the world, as everyone has gathered here for this very special and auspicious occasion. So thank you to all the leaders for the work that you have been doing, or bringing the community together and working so hard for supporting the Indian community and working with us for strengthening India-New Zealand partnership. I'm very, very grateful to all the leaders here, because I have seen in the last several years the amount of support and love and affection that we get from all of them. I want to take a moment to thank all the organizing team, the supporters, Radio Tarana, and all those who have made today's event possible. And also special mention to the performers who are children who are born here, but they keep the traditions alive. They have learned Indian dance and they know how to perfect the art of, being connected to their Indian roots and at the same time being a New Zealander and breaking the glass ceiling in every possible field. So I just want to say how proud I am of each one of you and how much you have been doing for this community. Diwali is an occasion which reminds us that just lighting a few candles can make a big difference. When we light a single diya or a candle in our house, it illuminates the whole house. If we light a few candles or diyas, the whole neighborhood is lit up. And similarly, if we go a little bit further, the whole city can be lit up. And that is what I would like all of us to do together here in Wellington. It is such a wonderful city, and it's really an honor to be proud of this community. I also want to take a moment to just acknowledge and thank all the people who have put up the shows and the arts and crafts of India, which is very unique from each state. And I hope that you will take a moment to go through all the stalls and appreciate the variety of India. Once again, wish you all a very happy Diwali. Jai Hind, Namaste.
Thank you so much, Her Excellency Nina Bhushanji, for the very kind words, and thank you all the dignitaries we have here on stage for being part of this Wellington Diwali Festival 2025. The organizing committee has done a very hard work, tirelessly they've been working to bring this to you, and you being here with us makes it more special. So thank you so much, and from all the public Indian community and all the organizing committee. Ladies and gentlemen, that was fantastic and well performed by the Wellington Mudra Dance School. Again, a big round of applause because they are doing a great job and wow.
Tam tim taranatam, tam tim taranatam. Tam in there. Give them another round of applause. So next we have a should and dance group, classic dance coming up. It's a fusion two pieces with a piano piece and a bhangra, and you should just see the outfits. You're going to be surprised. So please give a big round of applause for Should and Dance Academy. performing for Mudra Dance Academy, choreographed by none other than Mr. Wellington. So who do we have next, Alicia?
Next, I'd like to call back the girls in blue and gold and red and gold. Shillong Dance Academy's Cutlet Classical Group. They will be performing a Cutlet Classic, choreographed by Karitha Batik. Please give them a big round of applause.
Diri na,
Keep the applause going. Another big round of applause for Shivant Dance Academy. So Manisha, who do we have on next? So how's everyone enjoying our classical performances? So, good? So next we have Mayur Dance Academy and they're going to be doing a classical Bharatanatyam piece to the Hanuman Chalisa. So, get ready for that, guys. Come on guys, please give them a round of applause.
सुमन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन शंकर सुमन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित सुनबे को रसिया प्रभु चरित सुनबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता वन बसिया रूप धरि सिंह दिखावा रूप धरि लंक जरावा रूप धरि असुर सहारे रामचंद्र के काज सवारे भाग ज्ञान गुण सागर जय सब लोक उजागर
of the Hanuman Chalisa. So who do we have next? Next we have the students of Miss Gayatri Dharma Ranjan. We've got students from Hearst Music Academy singing 2 songs. Please give a big round of applause for Swarmamitra. Please give them a big round of applause. We're up to our last act for the classical segment. Manisha, what do we have next?
So to conclude our final act of the hour, we have Natraj Dance Academy, and they're going to be performing 3 songs for us. So yeah, can we please give a big round of applause for Natraj Dance Academy?
Come on guys, we can do better than that. What? Bhangra Academy?
It's a pagda.
It's a Bhangra. Say it one more time for me.
Pagda. Thank you.
Let's get ready for some rock and roll Bhangra.
Of Shah Rukh Khan inspired swagger songs by Shivam Dance Academy, run by Preeta Pathak Ghosh. What a fantastic performance. Can we have another round of applause? I like that energy. Thank you for cheering the kids. This is what we want, isn't it?
What we